Hello, my friends! So, I decided to do something a little different. Maybe this can be a reoccurring thing. I wanted to try something out, a little unscripted, kind of impromptu. We had the cover art for the new Halo novel, Parasites Wake, come out very recently, and it's got some thoughts brewing around in the old noodle. So with my channel, in all honesty, you're not going to get any kind of cynicism from me. I'm sure a lot of people will just call me a fanboy. That's totally fine. The way I see it, life is too short, and there are far more important things. So when it comes to the free time I have, the time to invest into gaming and fictional worlds, I want it to be fun. I don't want to be sitting here bitching and moaning about the skin color of the grunts or the needler having an ammo counter. I think that there's a fair amount of criticism that is totally valid for the Halo 1 remake. I don't think any of us actively want the Halo remake to be like Halo Anniversary, where it's just a bunch of assets being reused for the most part. I think the big difference is that Halo Anniversary was first shown off. It was June of 2011, and the game came out that November. That build that we saw when they first announced the game was pretty rough. The effects were very unfinished. Chief and the Marines are running around with the Halo Reach AR, and I mean, Chief's helmet was kind of abysmal. But they at least made some improvements in a short period of time. Compared to Campaign Evolved, we saw that possibly a solid year before that's going to be releasing. And they've been very vocal at Halo Studios about wanting feedback and all that. I think they're well aware that a lot of the assets being used for the Covenant and some of the weapons and the Marines aren't faithful. And I don't think the intent is to just leave that stuff for the final game. The word is that they just barely got that demo polished enough to get it ready for that showcase. So placeholder is the word of the day. Just like the Halo Anniversary trailer, I think there are a fair amount of assets that are purely just placeholders until they have the final 3D models ready. I am very optimistic, maybe to a fault, and that brings me to the cover art for this new novel. So logically, anytime a Halo novel comes out, they're gonna make an effort to make the artwork resemble whatever game is the most current. And Parasites Wake is almost a tie-in novel with Campaign Evolved. So just for context, Parasites Wake takes place during the Battle of Installation 04, the events of Halo 1, and we're following Staff Sergeant Marvin Mobuto. So Marvin is technically in Halo 1, retroactively via the Flood, the novelization of CE. Marvin is a Marine, just a regular dude who somehow ended up in the library. We're going to find out in this book how that happened, but he made it pretty far, all things considered. And even Master Chief goes in there and he comes across his body. The body is mutilated beyond the point of the Flood even being able to use him as a combat form. And so Chief even acknowledges that the guy was a badass. So it's going to be a cool book. I'm very much looking forward to it. But looking at the artwork, I mean, just purely from the Halo 1 goodness of it, it is amazing. Everything about it screams Halo 1. And because this is practically tying in directly with the remake, I really, really think that it is artistically linked up with the art style that we'll be seeing in Campaign Evolved. Let's just start off with Marvin himself. He's rocking that glorious CE armor. But this time, we actually get to see a lot more detail to it. A level of detail we've never seen in any official representation of the Halo 1 Marine body armor. At a glance, it is spot on. But then you'll notice little details on the armor itself, so it's less of that metallic kind of look and more so like the kind of composite material that you would see ODST armor made out of, or the Marines in Halo 2 or 3. Just seeing all the straps, so you're obviously, we have that separation of 25 years. Obviously things would look better, and in a painting like this, you kind of have, you know, an infinite budget to do whatever you want. The limitation is your imagination. I could totally just be pulling this out of my ass, and there is no merit to it, and Campaign Evolved is going to have Marines straight out of Halo Infinite. But humor me for a little bit. I think that there's a few things about this overall piece that helps solidify my theory. So, furthermore, getting into some of the detail on here, I think a really cool thing is it looks like Marvin took a plasma bolt to the head. You know, his helmet saved his life, but he got a little bit of heat damage to his face. He's got that Harvey Dent thing going on. But we'll see that Marvin's holding the good old MA5B, or at least what we're assuming is the MA5B. Obviously, that's the AR of Halo 1. I think there's something interesting going on with the assault rifle. The choice to give it a 32 round mag as opposed to the 60 rounds of the classic Halo 1. I think what they're doing is they're setting the road for continuity between this remake and the remakes of Halo 2 and 3. You know, at this point, we're pretty sure that that is the plan, that they're going to be remaking the original trilogy. I think that they intend on having the AR be consistent between each title, and that, my theory is proposing that even Halo 2 is going to have the AR in there. We already know that Campaign Evolved is going to have an expanded sandbox. They're giving us the battle rifle, needle rifle, brute shot, sentinel beam, energy sword. So we're getting access to a lot of other stuff that wasn't in the original. Moving on to that other Marine behind Marvin. First of all, what I think is really cool is instead of having that one tactical eyepiece like Marvin, he's got eyewear that we've never had in Halo 1, but it's incredibly similar to what we've seen some of the Marines rocking in Halo 3 and, you know, some of the other ones. So that just goes in line with what Halo Studios has said, that they're taking a lot of aspects of the entire Halo franchise and working it into this game. Overall, he's got that silhouette of a CE Marine, but with all that extra detail. But we'll notice that he is holding the M90 shotgun, the same shotgun that we're using in Halo 1. This is just me overanalyzing it, possibly. Like, I don't know if this is a psychological thing. The shotgun in Halo 1, it looked like it was a really long weapon to me, whereas in Halo 3, it was made to be a bit stubbier, a bit more practical for a normal, non-augmented person to be able to use. So when I look at the shotgun that this guy's holding, it makes me think that they're kind of adjusting the proportions to make it realistic for just the average guy to be able to carry into combat. But everything about it, I mean, it is spot on to the Halo 1 shotgun. Again, obviously, the intent is, let's make this all fit the aesthetic of Halo 1 because this takes place during the events of Halo 1. I would not be surprised if this is essentially our first glimpse at what that shotgun's going to look like. Incredibly faithful to the original, just a little stubbier, a little bit smaller so it looks more natural in the hands of Marines. And now, let's move on up to the Elite. The Elite really got my attention because everything about him screams Combat Evolved. Like, his mandibles, his eyes, the orange lights on his armor, and the plasma rifle. Now, this is where I think it gets interesting. So, when you look at the plasma rifle here, like, it looks one for one what we always know and love as the classic plasma rifle. But upon a closer look, you'll notice it's an incredibly minor detail. You need to have an extreme kind of autism to see this. So above the quote-unquote barrel, you'll notice how essentially we have these segmented parts of the plasma rifle. In the original, and actually pretty much every other Halo title, those segmented parts are very flush together. Whereas with this guy, right here, you'll notice that kind of bulges out. Personally, I don't love that look. It's a little less sleek. But when first person, you'll kind of see that. It gives it a beak, we'll say. So because that beak is visible in this artwork, I think the artwork is based off of that slight change that Halo Studios did with the plasma rifle. So with that logic, if the plasma rifle is based directly on what is going to be in Campaign Evolved, who's to say that the elites didn't get a rework to look just like this fella? And you look at it and it's like, it looks incredibly similar to the elites in Halo Infinite. So the elites in Halo Infinite have a lot of similarities, but some key differences. You'll notice that this helmet is a lot more angular, like the back of it's really sharp. It very much matches what we had in Halo 1. And like I said before, the orange spots on his arms. In fact, when it comes to those, if you remember back in the good old Halo 2 days, those would light up corresponding with the shield strength. And if I remember correctly, Late Night Gaming was talking about how he spoke to one of the devs at Halo Studios who was saying that they're pretty sure they're going to be able to get that effect to work in Campaign Evolved. With those glowing lights on the armor. So the shield emitters and all those spots that should be aglow when the shields are recharging and are back to full strength, all of that should be intact, which is really, really cool. And let's point out the little black eyes that this guy has. The elites in Halo 1 and 2 would have their eyes completely blacked out. Same with Reach, I believe. We didn't have that in Halo Infinite. I mean, number one, it's more faithful, but number two, it does so much more to make these elites look intimidating. Again, I'm making a lot of assumptions here. I'm just basing this off of just some really cool artwork. Nothing about this guarantees that this is what the elites are going to look like in the game, but I'm being optimistic. I'm trying to give Halo Studios the benefit of the doubt. I'm choosing to trust the leadership there. I have a lot of reasons why, but that's a topic for another video. Specifically, we're going to stay on track with this cover art, because now we're just going to move on a little bit. Very prominently featured is the library. We know it's the library because we got to see the library in Halo 2, at least on Delta Halo. The assumption can be made that the library looks the same on all installations, or at the very least, it's the same on installation 04. So we got the library here, and we got some flocks of sentinels, but then beyond that, we have ourselves an army of Flood, and they look perfect. Like, everything about the infection forms and the combat forms, like, it looks spot on to what we had in Halo 1. I mean, like, the infection forms have that really sickly green kind of look. It's like almost like a glowing neon kind of green yellow. Something that we kind of lost over time as the Flood got a little bit more flesh colored. And then especially, like, this is very, very far removed from what we got in Halo Wars 2, where they have, like, the kind of orange glowy bits. If my theory can be believed, I think when we next see Campaign Evolved, I have a feeling that we're going to be seeing a lot of updated assets in the game that are much more of what we all really wanted out of a Halo remake. It's a lot of hope, it's a lot of optimism, but I want that to be the kind of the point of my channel, because there is so much doom and gloom and pessimism, and it makes it to where anytime new exciting stuff about Halo comes out, you look at the comments and it just kind of ruins your day. It ruins that excitement. I'm choosing to be in my own little bubble, and you are welcome to join me in this bubble as much as you'd like, because here in this bubble, we're going to be excited. We're going to try to recapture the magic that was back in the day. If you're my age, if you're in your 30s, you can remember what it was like waiting for the next Halo to come out. Waiting for Halo 3. That was the longest summer of my life, just waiting for that fall. And it is crazy to think how fast time goes by. It's been 25 years since Halo 1. I've been playing since almost the very beginning. I think that sharing my introduction to Halo might be a good video, a good talking point at some point. But I think there's a lot to be excited for. We are extremely blessed because there are a lot of game franchises out there that, you know, they just kind of fizzle away. Actual successful ones. Like, there are plenty of exclusives that were on PlayStation 3 that have a serious fan base. Not as big as Halo, you know, but franchises that have fans. They even have, you know, extended lore, and sadly, for whatever reason, they just never got that continuation. So Halo's been through a lot of ups and downs, that can't be denied, but the fact that it's still chugging along, it brings me a lot of joy. I love the fact that Halo's going to be going to PlayStation. It's a very big step. And, you know, it's something I never thought was going to happen. Dude, I would have been pissed back when I was a kid. I would have been so angry that it came to this. But there's a lot of things that went into play with Microsoft and Xbox and 343 and now Halo Studios that has us where we are now. But hey, if Halo keeps on going, if we keep on getting more games and more books and more just stuff, more Halo stuff is always good in my book. I've always felt like even Halo at its worst, it's still better than a lot of games out there. So yeah, we are going to stay positive here. I'm sure there's plenty of folks that are going to come in here and want to rain on our parade and, you know, tell us about how Halo's dead and how Halo Studios sucks and 343 killed Halo and Halo's been dead since Halo Reach or whatever. And it's like, you know, if you feel like that, that's fine. But stop trying to ruin other people's fun. At the end of the day, we're always going to have Halo 1. You know, the remake isn't going to take that away. I think that is all I got for now. God bless. Christ is King. Bye-bye.